I know horror fans have been looking forward to the Wolfman for some time now, but I have to say, what the just happened in this movie? Hello, Flickering with family and all you monster movie fans. My name is EJ and welcome to our channel. In this video, we are going to be diving into one of the first movies of 2025. Yes, we are talking about Wolfman. Everything I'm about to say in this review comes with like I hate to say it, because I truly love Leigh Whannell. I think Leigh Whannell has been banging out movies that have just been impactful, just have been memorable for years now. The 2020 Invisible Man film stuck with me as a chilling look at domestic violence, at gaslighting, at abuse. It was such a entertaining but engaging yet just heartfelt movie. There were so many elements to it I loved. I mean, I'm a fan of his really cheesy acting in the first Saw movie. Leigh Whannell's a director I often like. So going into Wolfman, where I'm also a big fan of the iconic universal horror monsters, I was like, oh, this is going to be a match made in heaven. And yeah, no, there is no heaven to be found here. This movie is honestly hell to get through sometimes, mostly for the pacing and the writing. I think the acting and the direction is okay. There is a lot of big swings in the directing department. We'll talk about that in a moment, where Leigh Whannell is definitely trying. He's definitely putting forth an effort to make a different type of Wolfman film. I get that. I just don't like the end result. I think it's not... Look, this is crazy coming from me, who is not a source material person. I'm one of those people who thinks you can change comic books up. You don't have to stick to what came before. But my goodness, there is nothing of an OG Wolfman story here. It just felt so... It just felt twisted in a way that I lost the original magic. I think that's where a big problem people have with source material changes and things like that, where you lose the soul of the original story, of the original premise, and it's lost here. I mean, I know that they don't want to feel like another story, but, you know, going down to that one Benicio del Toro movie we had years ago, going back down to the classic Wolfman film from, you know, just the era of the golden age of monster movies. Hell, I'm even looking at American Werewolf in London. These are movies that I love, that I think The Howling, my goodness, the werewolf legacy in film and horror has been great. I just don't think Wolfman fits along those legacies. It just feels like more of the same, and it just feels like something that they wanted to try something different, but it ends up being repetitive. It ends up being tedious. It ends up being nothing like the Wolfman I think most of us were craving. As a family finds himself lost in the woods, as they would be in a scenario like this, it's a horror movie. Why would they not get stranded in the woods? We're seeing a father struggle as he is attacked by something that sees him evolving. He is a very loving, a very touching father, but as this disease starts to rot who he is, he's losing all of that. And we're seeing the mother and the daughter have to kind of survive. I think all of the actors, the young actress, Julia Garner, and Christopher Abbott, are all doing serviceable jobs. They're all doing what they have here, but like they get lost in the shuffle. They get lost in trying to tell this story in a competent way. But the pacing, my goodness, the pacing. I often feel like, oh, this night's still going on. Every time we would cut to black, I would be like, oh, we're going to go to another day. We're still in the same night. Like, these actors are working against a tiresome script, a tiresome production that really does not feel like a werewolf movie. I think werewolf, I think of the full moon. I think of a slow evolution. I think of that transformation. Making this werewolf-like symptom a virus does feel like true to what the Lycanness would be. I get the idea. Aha, oh, it's a disease now, and it's slowly rotting away this man. I get what they wanted to do here, but the execution fails. It doesn't feel like a transformation, a sickness movie, but it doesn't feel like a werewolf movie. So you're kind of lost in this, well, what is this movie? Like, what are we trying to do? And even the metaphors, even the abuse metaphor, the parent metaphor, the losing a parent that you love to maybe something a bit twisted, it's not there. This reminds me so much in a negative way that movie Antlers from a couple years ago about the Wendigo. That's what this reminds me of. There's an abuse metaphor that's messy. There is a lot of stuff throughout the film that just doesn't connect. All these pieces are trying to connect together, and I'm like, but what is this? What are we coming together to say? What is the thesis statement of this movie? And there is none. Like, ooh, scary werewolf man, and like, oh, I wish he was nicer to his daughter like he once was. But that's not enough to give me a catharsis. That's not enough to give me something to sink my teeth into. I could possibly forgive some of the werewolfness of it and not feeling like a classic werewolf story if this had a better script. The lines that people are saying in this movie, it feels like M. Night Shyamalan level of like, I am describing what's happening in the scene. This is my relation to this people. I am very much giving you every information that you need in a clear and very obvious way. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? And then there's moments in the script where I'm like, that's going to pay off to something. Like they mentioned mushrooms at the beginning. Like, ooh, don't take one of those. Those are going to kill you. You know, it's the death cap mushroom. And I'm like, oh, that's a really good filmmaking thing where you mention something early and that's going to play into, oh, there's nothing about that later on. This movie just feels like, again, confused, like I said earlier, where like they're trying to drop hints, they're trying to say things, they're trying to have metaphors, they're trying to make you feel something, but just the filmmaking's fighting against it. Because again, that script is a mess from dialogue to just plot points to anything like that. Then you get to the pacing of the script. Setting this in one night, I understood in one setting, was a decent idea. It's a solid premise to make this very isolated, to kind of give you this like intense feeling of, wow, what could happen overnight. But again, that loses the werewolfness of it. I feel like that gets lost in translation. And also the pacing of this movie is awful. Like I kept being like, what are we at in time? Like, I don't need a constant time ticker of like, it is 2 a.m., it is 3 a.m., it's 4 a.m. I don't need that specifically, but there was no indications. By the time the sun started coming up at the end of the movie, I'm like, oh yeah, this has all just been one night. Like, oh my goodness. It doesn't allow a good flow, a good rhythm of the movie. It just kind of feels like it stops and starts. We get to a new point and then it's just like, stop. And now a new segment starting. It just doesn't flow. This movie doesn't have a connective tissue. I would think the acting, I would think the metaphor of abuse and family would all be there, but it just doesn't work. It just doesn't connect in that way. So you're kind of left like, oh, I want more. That's the whole thing. Like, this is so much wasted potential. Like, there's cool werewolf vision or wolfman vision that they use here, where we can see the wolfman's point of view and how good his eyesight is, very similar to dogs and wolves. I thought that was an interesting attempt. Was it my favorite executed? No, but it was an attempt. So there was things here that I thought were smart, that they were trying to do something, trying to keep itself fresh, but sometimes it went too fresh. Sometimes I'm like, what is this, like, very slow, meditative look at family and what generational trauma does, and maybe to get rid of this generational ties, we have to do this? I was so confused what this movie was trying to say, what this was trying to accomplish, that I just feel frustrated. Alright, everyone, that is it for my review of Wolfman. Leigh Whannell's great, Christopher Abbott's great, Julia Garner, like, everyone here is great. It just doesn't come together for a movie that I enjoyed, which breaks my heart, because I was so looking forward to this one. I was that one weird friend that everyone's like, Wolfman, really? And I'm like, no, go see this. I think it's going to be great. Now I'm like, boo-boo the fool over here. Like, oh, maybe I should not have recommended this. What did you guys think of my review? What do you think of the new Wolfman movie? Share your thoughts down in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to Flickering Myth for more videos like this, and give me a thumbs up, because YouTube takes those way too seriously. Alright guys, let's talk about Wolfman, Leigh Whannell movies, and what's your favorite monster movie? Write down below.